Thanks for joining us today. Yeah, Hump Day is usually people struggling, but for us, we are jubilating on a Wednesday. Yeah, it's going to be an amazing conversation talking about AI. Should we let AI decide how we learn, live, and love? All right, so I'm going to kick off with the whole BYP spiel. Hi everyone. So if you don't know already, BYP stands for Black Young Professionals Network, and we're all about bringing Black young professionals, young, forget about the word young, we're all about bringing Black professionals together in a state of excellence to support each other as we go for our career aspirations and achieve things together. Because it's one thing to go when you're by yourself in your community trying to do something different. It's another thing when you're moving as a group with people united. And so we do a bunch of different events, such as this, where we focus more about our professional life, right? It's more about talking about who we are as professionals and displaying that expertise and being involved in wonderful conversations. So we do this on a bi-monthly basis, this professional roundtable. So we have some wonderful, wonderful professionals here to talk to us about their work in the AI space and talk about what AI is looking like for all of us. Because whether we like it or not, it's our life now, Yusuf. It is what it is. So it's going to be a great conversation. I'm really looking forward to it. So without further ado, let's actually learn more about our panelists today. So yeah, sorry. This is how the session is going to work. It's an interactive session. If you have questions, please go ahead and put it on the Menti. So please scan that QR code. Please be respectful. It's always good to honor each other as we give each other our times. And at the end, we're going to do a big Q&A. Awesome. So first, our panelists. We have some amazing people that I've had the wonderful privilege to get to know and speak to, and I think they're all going to give some amazing value to you all. And so we're going to let them go ahead and introduce themselves, starting with, I see your face on the screen, Grace. I'm going to start with you. Grace, who are you? Welcome. Tell us who you are and what you do, all of that.
Well, thank you for having me. My name is Grace Yusuf. I work in the cybersecurity industry as a product manager, specializing in fraud detection using machine learning and AI. So that's me.
Beautiful. Okay, and we're gonna get some great insight from you because we talk a lot about AI and life, and I think you're gonna add some really good nuggets there. So that's beautiful. Next up, let's introduce Sebastian. Hi, coming all the way from Bradford. Lovely.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Good evening, my fellow speakers. My name is Sebastian Obeta. I'm a data scientist. My specialty is in natural language processing, and I work with Cambridge University in the business information and strategic insights. So yeah, so that's me for now.
I love it. And actually, I attended one of Sebastian's talks recently where he basically said we're all going to be jobless. So I love that conversation. Didn't quite say we're going to be jobless, but we need to watch out. We need to watch out for sure. Looking forward to more of that. And then finally, last but definitely not least, Ramla, please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thank you, Obinna. Hi, everyone. Just a quick disclaimer, I do have a bit of swelling in my face if you're wondering what's going on here, and I might sound a bit funny, so bear with me. But I'm a designer and researcher, with a bulk of my work having been in conversational AI, so looking at a lot of how we can train chatbots and a lot of natural language processing, and how we can translate conversations and create kind of meaningful conversations through chatbots. Also doing a master's in design features, so my lens and research focuses around different and alternative AI features where it's more participatory, where it's more kind of democratic and inclusive. So I'll be coming from a very design and human behavior lens. I'm really excited.
Awesome. Thank you, Ramla. And I love that you're bringing that perspective here because it can get quite botty, which we're going to get to one of the questions, but we also need to remember there are humans behind the robots, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, lovely. So if you were to describe how you feel about AI in one word, what would those words be?
For me, it would be a tool. This
Okay.
tool.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Sebastian, what do you think?
So, yeah, one word for AI, I think, is the future.
Hmm. And Grace?
I would say simple, or similar to what someone else has put on their ease. A lot of how I use AI is to simplify the work that I already do outside of work, just like live, writing emails, sending messages. It just simplifies very monotonous tasks for me personally.
Hmm.
So that's how I would feel about AI.
Okay, ease. Okay, I like that. And so I'm seeing others in the chat. Also, I see in the Zoom chat as well, innovative. I'm seeing scary. I feel that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Futuristic, future. So they're very forward thinking. It's coming up. Opportunities. I love that word. It's not necessarily an obstacle. It could be something that we can leverage to get the next one. Misused. Oh my gosh. Ah, that is a word here. Okay, amazing. Sorry, go ahead.
That's an interesting one.
That is an interesting one. It's helpful. Iceberg. I'm curious about the iceberg. I'm not gonna lie. That's got me like frozen. Iceberg. I wonder what you went through. Inspirational. Okay, I'm loving this. So mixed sentiments here about AI, but hopefully we'll help clarify this throughout our conversations today. So let's move on to the next one. So what is your current main use of AI? Pick what would you say is your current use? So Grace, we actually heard a bit about you. You actually use it in your day-to-day. Do you want to talk a bit more about that? How do you currently use AI?
Yeah, so I fit into the I pay for ChatGPT, the premium version. In general life, it is something that I use quite frequently. For me, it's more to formulate my ideas. So I will have just a massive brain dump, and then I'll ask ChatGPT to formulate this in a way that I can send it off to like a customer or send it off to managers or my team. So a lot of it is doing that, again, that mundane refining work in my case. Sometimes it's, reading or getting it to analyze a really large file of data and giving me the core numbers rather than having to go through Excel and do all the crunching myself. But again, it's that for me, it's still in that, I don't want to say low level work, but it's not in the creative part for me.
Okay.
So yeah.
But it's interesting that you've chosen to invest in it nonetheless, because it's a paid for part of your work. So that's a very interesting thing. Ramla, how about you? How do you use AI?
Someone who kind of works on AI products, I don't actually use it that much, but I use it similar to what Grace has said. If I've had a brain dump or I've written a long draft, I've done the research, I've written a first draft of what I've got. Sometimes I do ask AI to kind of refine it, maybe to give ideas if I feel like I've got creative block, maybe to give a few pointers and then go away and actually research some of the topics. So it tends to be more around the work area.
Okay. But would you say you use a premium? Do you pay for it, or is it just something that you use
No,
casually? Okay.
no, I'm not committed to ChatGPT either.
Uh,
Bounce around between ChatGPT, Claude, whichever one, just to do a bit of a comparison as well to see.
yeah. Which models work best for you? Okay. Sebastian, how about you? How do you use AI?
Oh, I don't know where to start because I use it for different purposes. I mean, so for technicality, it's my companion now in terms of debugging of error message, and that's why I'm always grateful to LLM model as a programmer, because these days I'm no longer able to Stack Overflow to find solutions about my error message. They're all they're all attached into my IDE, so just click on it, gives me what needs to be done, get it fixed. Then at home, my phone does everything for me. And it turns on my TV set, turns on my lights, turns on
okay. You're fully in the world. Okay.
So it turns that on for me. So once I get in immediately and just either a voice command or anything, and I set a time that I sleep and it just reminds me, oh, what time do you want to wake up? Once is that time. So then again, in the part of automation, some of the work that I do, I try to build a pipeline where everything is being automated and also self-defense mechanism in terms of trying to understand where any form of negligence or any form of error can come into the machine learning pipelines that I build. So yes, I use it a whole lot. I'm fully immersed in it, if I can say.
Okay. And I'm guessing from what you just said, you pay for it as well. You're fully invested in it.
Well, some of the products that I work with, yes, I do, but some of them I build it myself.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, we have a good range in the panel here about uses of AI. I love to see it. Okay. And even in the audience here, we see the majority of you use it for work, and it's an even split between creativity and code, and then casually in daily life. I would say, from my understanding, the general population is probably more casual in daily life. A cute little chat GPT prompt here and there. Copilot pilots my life personally. GitHub has not been the same since Copilot came out. So that's for me, but perfect. All right. Final question here, just to get to know the audience and where everyone is at. How do you see the use of AI in your industry? And this is a very industry specific thing because it changes. I've seen from different places to places. Like I say, I code myself, so I tend to use it more in simplifying code or getting to these answers, which I find funny because when I learned how to code, it was very much manual. You need to understand everything. And now perhaps not so much. So it'll be interesting, audience, please let us know, how do you see the use of AI in your industry specific? And let's also go to the panelists as well. So Ramla, we'll start with you this time. How do you use AI in your industry? How do you see the use of AI in your industry?
Yeah, so I work at a tech consultancy, so you can imagine Gen AI has been the only thing that everyone's talking about. A lot of the strategies have transformed to be focused on Gen AI. How can we deliver Gen AI outcomes for our clients? What does it mean in X industry? They've also kind of got everyone to sign up for Copilot licenses, so we have it across the whole Microsoft suite, for example. But honestly, the most I've seen Copilot being used at work has been for teams. It's been really useful summarizing what people have said and what actions exist. A lot of maybe RFPs, for example, to build a proof of concept on how Gen AI might work with a client. But in some of the conversation AI projects that I'm working on, clients seem to be a bit hesitant on using Gen AI. They're not quite confident just yet. And so we're still doing very manual conversation design and training the language model. But there has been a lot more training. So there's definitely training, but we're yet to see exactly how we might deliver it for our clients.
Got it. Okay. Sebastian, and yourself, how do you see the use in your industry? And yours is interesting because you touch a lot of different spaces. So how do you see the use?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, let's say it's experiential for me, but there's always drawback to it. For instance, one of the models that we're in the first first test of it, the feedback was not so great today.
I'm sorry.
From our client, but
yeah,
it's just one of those things because when we tested it, it gave us a very good accuracy and we ensured that everything worked well. Even as we speak, I'm not sure what to go back to what tomorrow to work on or how to improve it. But yes, aside from that, we've had good success in terms of building automation because these days it's very hard to differentiate between automation and AI itself. I mean,
right.
10 years ago, what businesses were talking about are centered on digital transformation, automation processes. Now we're in the era of AI. Now there's a thin line now to differentiate between automation and dev. But basically, it helps us across in order to build a system that helps with good decision making, but human in the loop as well. So it's very extensive in the application in my own industry.
Wow. Okay. And what's more interesting is it seems like perhaps part of the use of AI in industries actually has to do with how do you sell it in rather than how it's used by itself. You know, because if selling in it doesn't quite hit, then you have what you just experienced where they don't use it, even though it's probably very useful for them, right?
Exactly. Yes, I'm going back now to ask myself what do I need to do differently. But yes, we'll bounce back to it and let them know the power of it.
Beautiful. And Grace, how do you see the use of AI in your industry?
Well, I work in the cybersecurity industry, but specifically fraud detection and prevention. So the rise of AI has been very interesting in the space. As a company, we're trying to implement AI to make it easier. But for us, on the flip side, we have what we call the anti-market of fraudsters and all these bad actors who are also using AI to
Right.
basically undo the work that we're doing. So for us, it's like a Star Wars light versus dark battle constantly, because as AI advances, so does their hiding from our detection, but then so does our detection and prevention have to involve in it. So AI is, like Ramla said, a tool, and depending on what side of the fence you are, you either use it for good and evil. So that's how we kind of use AI in the industry.
Oh, you're bringing philosophy into okay.
Thank you.
But I can see what I always find it interesting. If everyone remembers like cartoons when they were younger, it always surprised me how much the villains' technology was so much better than the heroes. And it's
Yeah.
sort of like a metaphor for life, right? For some reason, it's easier to be innovative for bad than it is for good to
Yeah.
some extent.
Yeah, because you don't have to deal with all the regulations and everything. So just
Fair
find all
enough.
the loopholes. When one door closes, you can quite literally create another. And I mean, if it wasn't for the fact that I work to stop them, like fraudsters are very innovative,
They
especially
are.
with technology. The level of innovation is almost commendable.
Okay. Well, on that note, let's see what everyone says. And it's interesting in the audience, it seems there's a good mix of different ranges, but a lot of people tend towards it's a lot of hype, but more for socials than reality. I get that. I get that because I think there's a lot of conversations. If you're a senior leader, you have to say something about AI, but do you use it actually? Another question. We have mandatory training in it. It'll be in our lives. Okay, cool. So you're forced to use it within your company. That's interesting. And then the company pay for it, but nobody uses it. That's another segment of the audience there. So I'm loving this range. So let's get into this conversation now. Here we go. So the first question, degrees, experience, or data, what should matter in an AI-driven job market? So a lot of us here are professionals. We work in jobs, or we're looking for new jobs, but are also trying to progress our career where we currently are. And the question really, a lot of times when as a job searcher, or even as someone who's within a career, if AI can predict skills better than a CV, how do we think about education? Does the traditional way make sense anymore? Or should we all just try to become prompt engineers who can use ChatGPT to the limits and solve every problem with it because we don't actually need to know anything if AI can solve our problems? So, question for the panelists.
Happy to go first. So it's interesting. And I know this is kind of the sentiment that's going around, and has been going around as soon as ChatGPT first hit the market and loads of people started using it. And I was looking at some stats actually when I was looking at this question, because of this fear that people have AI taking their role. According to the World Economic Forum, apparently by this year, 85 million jobs would have been displaced by machines. But even more, so around 97 million new jobs would have been created. So with AI, there's no doubt it will be pervasive in society. We've seen how quickly it's been uptaken compared to how long it took for people to get access to the internet, even longer for electricity. And as important as digital literacy has been and how everyone's access and use of the internet has been super important, I think AI literacy will be super important as well. So understanding how you can use AI, but remembering that it's at least from my perspective, just remembering that it's a companion or something that could help with automating certain tasks that could have taken longer. Seeing as we have a capitalistic society, we constantly focus on optimizing and efficiency. But I think, and then looking at what AI is really good at, AI is really good at things like logic, pattern recognition, data analysis, a lot of the technical skills that we think we should go and learn. So when everyone was running towards a tech career, myself included, I came from biomed and I switched to a technology career. That was kind of the focus. We've seen the government focusing on cracking down on STEM subjects, reduce funding for the arts. But if we think about it, the skills that we're kind of pushing people to do, the technical, logical skills, is what AI is really good at. And so that highlights the importance of things that makes us human. So the humanities, the arts, the things like imagination, creative writing, critical thinking, all the things that are really hard to quantify and turn into data points to train an algorithm, I think what will really be important. And so those are the skills that traditional education is really good at. So essay writing, for example, yes, maybe putting something into ChatGPT and asking, oh, can you write this for me? AI is trained on all the existing knowledge. And so if we reduce the amount of critical thinking and the creativity that people are working on and producing, and we get to a feature where we're just focusing on these technical skills, what will AI be trained on? It will turn into this kind of, we'll create this monster, we're all focused on refining this monster or using it. It's those skills that require imagination that are really important. I really recommend this TED Talk by this technologist, futurist who studied English. So she's very big on advocating for the humanities, Lindsay McKinney. And she mentions it's limit. So thinking of AI, it's limited to creating new dots that are connected to dots already created by humans. So what AI does is think within a box. It lacks nuance, ethics, and what we bring as human beings are the embodied lived experience, the ethics, the inspired mind, etc. That's something that we can't rely on AI to do. So I think going forward, actually, traditional education and humanities will have such a much more important role. AI at the moment is kind of like a means to an end. Yes, automation, making things faster, etc. But what is it that makes us human? What do we want to see? And then thinking of even the future in terms of the climate crisis, we will need critical thinkers, strategic thinkers, system thinkers, things that AI can't do within the space of logic and technicalities that we need to think about. So I think traditional education is here to stay. It will evolve. AI literacy will play a role in almost everyone's role, the way digital skills did. But it's that creativity and the things that we have as humans that are strong, that will make someone stronger in the job market, I believe.
Okay. I'm loving that. I'm loving that opening. That's a beautiful. Sebastian, I'm curious about you because we had a long conversation about this. So the argument has been made that AI is great for those logical 1+1=2 type tasks, but it can't replace creativity, strategic and critical thinking and all of that. From your perspective, though, I think you have something different to say, especially around the creativity mark, right? So how AI can actually be used to some way be its own creative, and so perhaps creativity will be moved about. Correct me if I'm wrong, but what is your view here?
Oh, interestingly, what I keep saying is this: in this age of AI, everyone's creativity will be tested. So it now boils down to individuals who build their inquisitive nature and build their intellectual curiosity to understand every single thing that will stand the test of time. That is how I see it. Now, if then for the question as regards to traditional education, if it's still as relevant, I would say that it's still relevant, but less critical. I know many people will come up from the chats about this because I was just looking at the pool. I can't see anyone that's zero say disagree, strongly disagree zero, and some seems to be neutral. Okay, so, and this is my own theory, right? Degrees or traditional education historically acted as the gatekeepers, right? But their importance, the reality on ground is that it's declining in fields where AI can measure real ability directly. I mean, even if you look at it from employers' perspective, you see that they are already moving towards a skill-based hiring system. Big companies like IBM, Google, they've started dropping the traditional education or the degrees requirements for so many roles. So the question is is it still relevant? Do we need to have the traditional education? However, degrees or traditional education still matters in certain fields, just as Ramla said. And it's only those fields that require deep theoretical knowledge, such as the medicine, law, or we could even look at it from research-heavy AI roles. So, but the challenge, or in order to place the balance here, is many traditional education or traditional degrees, they don't adapt fast enough to match the pace of the current AI-powered industry shifts. And that's what we need to look at.
Okay, so your theory more is education is perhaps less, you said critical, but relevant because it's behind the
still
pace of
relevant,
innovation.
but less critical.
It's still relevant, but less critical.
But less critical.
Okay. I find this interesting, right? Because you're right to some extent. Recruitment, they've literally dropped the education necessity in some recruitment levels. However, as a result of that, we've also seen work culture having to have to shift as well, right? Because we can't talk about school the way, because not everyone experienced school in the same way. And I think one of the most important things about education is less the 1 + 1 = 2, but it's more your ability to network. It's more your ability to be in an environment, more your ability to collaborate. Just getting straight into a job from that means you lose some of those more human skills that Ramla was mentioning there. So perhaps the definition of critical needs to change a bit, maybe. It's a challenge. It's a challenge. Cool. But Grace, what is your view? We've kept you waiting. We've kept the energy inside. What's going on?
So I would argue that traditional education up until university is still going to be relevant, is relevant and still is going to be relevant with AI. You know, like Ramla said, AI is logic, it's analytics, it's within the box, but the whole education system, and this is debatable, but is built to not just teach you Pythagoras and Macbeth and all of these things, but it's actually built to teach you how to learn, teach you how to understand, teach you how to plan, teach you how to analyze and execute and all these things. And then it's those skills that you then use on top of AI to make business decisions. Like you can't ask ChatGPT to analyze the data and then not understand what the numbers mean, or not understand what an increase means or what a decrease means. That is what you get from traditional education before university. And then you take that analysis and then you make a business decision for human, because at the end of the day, we humans sell to humans. AI hasn't started selling to itself yet, but a lot of the work we do, a lot of the things we develop is to sell to humans. And I think at that point, when you're making business decisions or deciding whether to pick A and B, those are still in the realm of humans. They're still within there. So I think up until AI starts needing to sell to itself, I think traditional education is still relevant up until university, because you do learn those human skills, the humanity subjects, the English, how to write and how to do all of these things. So I still do think it plays a role. And I mean, up until the point of networking, you know, group projects at school, everybody hated them, but they teach you how to deal with really difficult people, even in the workplace. You could argue that, yes, you do them at university, but there's something about, you know, a secondary school group project that just really, really taught you how to deal with a very difficult person. And that is a skill that you need in the workplace. You know, sports activities, you know, doing tournaments with other schools and meeting people, that is, you know, early stage networking. So I think we take a lot of the things we did at those really early stages for granted, because I do believe they are going to contribute to a lot of what we are and what we need in a workspace now. But that's my 2 pence on the subject.
Okay, I love that. Okay, a countermeasure to what you just said, though, is you said that AI is not selling to itself. It kind of is, though. Chatbots. Nowadays, when you go onto a website and you're trying to buy a product, you're not talking to a human being. It's a chatbot
Yeah, but
that's
it's
trying to
selling
sell
to
its
me.
product to you. It's selling to you.
It's kind of selling to me. And even with that chatbot. Most chatbots, I mean, some chatbots, you can't really set a chatbot up from the box. You can't say, put a chatbot on my website and it knows what to do. There's still some element of, okay, cool. When a customer says this, we need to do this. And this is what we're aiming for. These are the high ticket offers. These are what we're leveraging. Like there's still human interaction, even within that. So unless a chatbot then ends up selling to another chatbot, I think we're still in good space. As long as there's a human at the end of the line, there still needs to be, in my opinion, there still needs to be human interaction. There still needs to be a human decision made. So yeah, that would be my.
Okay, so Mars says Grace has articulated a lot of what I was thinking +1. So great, Mars. Oh, we can let you say something in the next question, maybe. Aisha, thank you for the great points, everyone on the panel. Thank you, panel. To add to Grace's point, it's not us versus AI. It's AI plus us. We're meshing our human skills with the powerful data held by AI agents, so which is exactly what you were just saying, Grace. Okay.
Can I just ask?
Go ahead.
It's an interesting conversation, AI selling to AI. Okay, let's look at this scenario, right? If AI system, I mean, we are looking at autonomous systems in here. We are, as AI system becomes autonomous, and they now become capable of making purchasing decisions, right? And they are interacting with other AI-driven systems in business transactions. Can't you say it like AI selling to AI?
I mean, you said it there. It's interacting with itself in business parameters or in business. It's still business, which I'm guessing that business isn't solely there for AI. It still sells a product. It still sells a service, most likely to a human. So yes, they interact with each other. Yes, it's probably coming up with the optimal decision, but that decision is still now to benefit a human or benefit a business. So I would still argue that it's still, unless there's a fully autonomous AI company selling to another fully autonomous AI company with the sole purpose of improving AI, which would be very interesting and scary to think of. I still think there's the human element. I think the whole nature of business is to provide a solution to a problem. Most of the problems we have are humans, like human needs, human wants.
Okay, we're gonna hold it there and move on to the next question, but I'm liking this conversation. It's hot. It makes me think of WALL-E. You guys remember the movie WALL-E, where AI was kind of living for us and we're just sitting in seats? Who knows? Okay, next question. When does AI enhance life become a templated life? So the last one's talking about how AI is relation to learning. This is talking about AI and living. So as personalized as we are, claiming AI experiences to be, we've seen the power of advertising and popular culture push people to very similar destinations. At what point does helpful become templated, and are we still in charge of our own lives? Are we losing the need for choice as AI develops? And as an example of this, so I work in advertising. One thing that's being worked on currently and is actually out there is audio listening ads. So essentially, you talk and say, oh, I don't want to say my brother Google, because then someone's going to go on. But let's say Amazon, hey, Amazon thing. I'm cold, can I get a sweater? It goes to whichever advertiser paid for the SEO to be in the top rank. And that's the sweater that gets to that person rather than the sweater that's tailored towards the person. So what are we doing? Are we living a templated life? Is that really my choice anymore? Or are we just kind of defaulting towards what AI is giving us in that situation? So I'll let whoever wants to go forth.
I would actually argue yes. And this is mainly because of my very short-standing feud with TikTok Shop and how you can just consume one ad or stay on an ad for longer than you should. And now every other swipe is that product. And not only are you bombarded with the product, you're then bombarded with use cases for the product. So then within your life, you can make exceptions for having that product because you've seen, over 1,000 people tell you, oh, this is the reason, or this is the reason. And one of those reasons will cater to you. So then you've just been fed a product which you probably weren't even looking for. Maybe you were, and then it's found a way to be a problem that you need solving, and then you buy the product. So I very much think we see the same with the move from, was it like minimalism designs to, maximalism designs, and how all these different trends come about. It's just overexposure, which then leads to you follow it, which then means we're all just doing the same thing. So it's yes, I would say that we are becoming a little bit templated.
Okay. Ramla, the designer in the house, we have to hear you now. We have to hear you. What are you saying?
I'm a big advocate for human agency, like 100%. For example, TikTok is my we have a love-hate relationship, arch nemesis, but also I spend a bit too much time on there. If I see one more made by Mitchell case or this rug cleaning broomstick, I'm gonna lose my mind. But I think if we think about so yeah, human agency, we have a choice. It's just we tend to give up that agency a little bit to the technologies that we use, and we can only allow it to do so much that we allow it to. So I think AI is useful in the mundane. I think we spoke about the mundane, the repetitive, the automated. So I would love AI, for example, to come in and look at my laundry and then organize it and wash it based on the fabrics and stuff. Things like that I think are useful in your day to day. But if we think about these AI products, like Grace mentioned, a lot of it is about selling. Again, we live in a very capitalist society, right? So whoever's developing this AI product is usually doing it, if it's going to be in your day-to-day life, a lot of the time to try and sell you a product. We've seen like the way algorithms have been created. So is it based on what the company is trying to sell to you, and therefore whose life are you living? Are you living for that company to continually be in this bubble of constantly buying based on this algorithm that is supposedly trained to be personalized to you? And then on the topic of being something super personalized, you end up being in a bit of a bubble again, where it constantly you're not exposed to new ideas, new things that you could potentially do. If you're someone who spends a lot of time either working from home or you study at home, you spend a lot of time at home, you become almost insular, where you're constantly consuming very similar things because this AI is recommending these products to you. So recognizing like AI is really useful. I can't wait for the day it can do my laundry and my dishes. But when it comes to the choices and the things that makes me me, how do I know who I am, what my likes and dislikes are, what my thoughts are, what I believe in and don't believe in, if I hand that over to AI a little bit too much? With that algorithm, I don't know what the intentions behind it is. We understand the whole concept of like AI and algorithmic bias. It's biased towards a certain end. So yeah, I think we should be the reverse. We shouldn't lose our need for choice as much as a lot of products are being produced in a way to reduce our choice and constantly push certain things. But like taking a step back and saying, hey, do you know what? I'm in control. I need to really sit down and figure out what I like. It's a similar thing again with influencers. You start to realize you don't know what you like or dislike because influencers are constantly telling you this is the newest trendiest thing, this is what you should buy. Do you want to be the it girl? Do you want to be the cool girl? Do you want to be the dark literature girl? There's so many different brands, and it's supposed to make you think, oh, do you know what? Actually this might be my personality, but it all surrounds the idea of you buying a certain product. So yeah, I do think people feel a bit helpless in their choices. But as AI develops, I think we need to recognize that we have agency. We can't actually just say no.
Okay. Okay, I got a point against that, but before that, let's go back to the audience. So Aisha says, I'm that person that takes off all the personalization AI help that apps suggest as their big marketing machines, making me feel I need things I don't need. Minimalism all the way. Okay, Aisha. So anyone in the chat, by the way, feel free, just put your hands up if you want to contribute to the conversation. But Ramla, let me ask you a question. Like,
Sure.
should we actually allow human agency in some points? Because we've also seen human propensity to be very wrong with their decisions, right? So I don't know, for example, if we're talking about children and they're trying to pick products, beauty products and all of that, we've seen what happens when someone picks a product that's very bad for their skin because they think that is what they need. Surely AI would be able to filter and say, you know what, you are this type of person. Let's actually stay within your bubble of skin products that's specific to you rather than you trying this other thing that is not really useful to you. In that case, the human choice is actually probably the wrong choice. Shouldn't we eliminate that altogether?
Interesting. So obviously, in situations where, for example, you're trying to figure out what product might work for your skin, there's obviously a lot of data that's been collected based on human, by the way. There's no AI is not a human being that will sit like that has that agency. It's a tool that can help inform your decision making. It's collected a lot of data. It's a lot easier than having to sit down on your laptop and research. I've got dry combination skin. Which product is good for me? It's good at aggregating that information and presenting you with the options, right? But at the end of the day, it's you as a human who has to make that choice with that data that you've been given. If I'm buying a skincare product, I'll be presented with that information. It will be helpful, and then I make that choice at the end. That AI won't come and apply it to my face or shove it down my throat. So there is still that element of human agency in buying it. AI is a helpful tool to help you make that decision, but it shouldn't be a thing making that decision. We've seen many cases where AI was at the point of making the decision and they got it very wrong, particularly around education, policing, really important things where, again, AI could have been a helpful tool, but the person using it then didn't have a healthy level of skepticism or question that data and applied it. And it could be very detrimental. It could be detrimental on skin as well. You know yourself. You have to be in a position where you have learnt your skin and you can look at an AI decision and say, hey, I don't think this is it. I'll probably use something else before I get a really bad skin rash.
Okay. Sebastian, how are you feeling?
I feel okay. I'm tilting this. I think I'm the only one that don't have a TikTok account. Obinna, do you have a TikTok account?
I don't use it. I'm scared.
I think I need to create a TikTok account. And yeah, it's interesting. So I think the real question here isn't just when AI enhanced life becomes templated. It is whether we can even recognize it happening. So the moment AI starts shaping our decisions in a way that we feel like free choice, but are actually constrained within an algorithm that tries to determine the parameters, then I think we've entered a space where autonomy becomes illusionary. So think about it this way. When you scroll on social media, you choose a playlist or you book a trip or you're making a choice. Now, is it the system making it for you or you are the one making that choice? So the more we trust AI to optimize our lives, removing friction, suggesting best inputs, that's best options, the more we surrender to a reality where the paths are pre-marked. And the irony is that we call it personalization, but in many ways, it's just a pre-selection. So there is an existential layer to this, right? Because AI's ability is to predict, is to forecast, is to guide behavior, which is fundamentally different from the traditional influences like advertising or culture. So you see that those forces require human intermediaries, right? AI then eliminates them, try to create will I call it invisible self-reinforcing loop. So if an AI assistant learns what works for most people, like you or like us, and we feed it back to it, so you now see that how much more of our life is still within us becomes a question that we need to answer. So if a system can anticipate what we want before you even articulate it, are you deciding or are you just approving? So a truly non-templated life would then require intentional resistance, thereby seeking randomness, looking at discomfort and divergence. But can we do with that when frictionless convenience is so seductive? And if we do, will AI just get better at predicting even our acts? of rebellion, he puts. So yeah, it's an interesting conversation to have. Let's just be able to identify it when it happens.
Okay. Okay. So you're not thinking whether it's good or bad in either way. You're just thinking, regardless, we need to understand when that is happening and then decide,
Exactly.
are we okay with it? Are you okay with the ease of someone else making a choice? Or are you saying, I want to make that choice?
That's
Interesting.
it.
From the audience, I'm seeing here that we have a quite, everyone's on either extremes, right? So either you strongly agree that we are losing the need for choice as AI develops, or we strongly disagree, and we don't believe that we are losing the need for choice as AI develops. And then we have some disagree as well. But it seems more people disagree than and in agree. Last big question of the evening. Is AI making love easier or just making it less real? Yeah, love. So we're looking at how AI affects our ability to live, learn, and love. So there's a video that I was going to play here, but looking at time, I'm not going to play it. But from AI companions to virtual influencers, tech is creating relations with people. Is this the future of human connection or just emotional fast food? And if people are not sure what we're talking about, then you can look up someone called Aitana. They are a virtual influencer with millions of followers, and a literal company just made up this virtual person that does not exist, takes pictures of them within certain backgrounds, and uses them to interact with different people, and that's how they've grown their following. There's also a real life thing where there are relationship chatbots where you can pretend to have a significant other and talk to a virtual chatbot, and that is your relationship. And we can even take it up to dating apps with the swiping and all of that, you know, using the algorithms in order to define your best match and whatnot. So is AI making love easier or making it less real? Panelists, this is a question for you. I'm not sure if any of you have actually used it in this capacity too. Feel free to share if you have. But would you say it's making it easier or making love less real? Cool. And I can pick someone for this. And I'm going to start with... Actually, let's start with Sebastian this time. How do you feel?
Okay, so interestingly, I mean, this is a very interesting question because at its core is about recognition, right? Love is about recognition. That is, it sounds like a love expert, being seen, being understood, and valued. But you see that AI doesn't see us in the way another human will or does. So what it tries to do, because I've tried to work with a company where we try to build such algorithm or try to understand such algorithm, though the algorithm didn't work out well. I mean, it crashed after about 6 months that we deployed it, right? So you see that AI doesn't see those things in the way human does. So what it tried to do is to mirror us. So look at those data points in human, tall, short, and all age, blah, and it tries to creates interactions based on the inputs and stimulates the emotional texture of love without actually experiencing it. So you see that when we talk about AI and those kind of love matching or all of those stuff, you see that we are really asking, is love just the feeling of being loved, or does it require the reality of another human mind? So we could also see it from the seduction of we could also call it a seduction of the perfect mirror, where AI relationships are like Narcissus staring into the lake, except now that the lake talks back in that instance. So you see that AI companions, just that, is it Elon Musk? I can't really remember who had a robot girlfriend. I don't know if any of us, if any of the panelists saw that news 2 years ago. So you see that it's more like AI companions and virtual influencers. They don't bring their own baggage. They don't get tired and they don't get challenged, or they don't challenge us in an unexpected way where people in relationship may. So they are all engineered to reflect our desires, to provide a version of love that is frictionless. That's what I'm saying.
Wow, okay. So you're definitely dealing into the fact that it is about ease, and AI makes love easy in that way. But you haven't said whether it replaces human connection, but it is a substitute, but you haven't said if it replaces
No,
it.
it will not replace human connection. That's why I gave, the definition of what we expect from love that's being seen, understood, and valued. And AI doesn't see us in that way. That's the way another human will see us. So it only tries to mirror and create interactions based on the inputs we give to it and stimulates the emotion textures of love without actually experiencing it, because you have to experience love to give love.
Okay. Grace, you have to experience love to give love. How are you feeling here?
I would strongly maybe disagree, but I strongly disagree with AI in love and relationship and new companionship. I don't necessarily have that same degree of negativity towards like dating apps where it's just used to meet more people, because it's kind of just like having large social gatherings on your phone. But that aside, the AI companions, the virtual boy, at the end of the day, these products are made by a company, and the main purpose of this company is profit. I mean, unless it's a not-for-profit, I haven't yet met one of these tools that is a not-for-profit company. So their main aim is to keep you satisfied, and that's not what love is. Like when it's between humans, people upset you, your partner annoys you, or you create like little jokes between yourselves. You can't have that within an AI companion because it's literally made to keep you happy. Like Sebastian said, it is just talking to yourself in a river or in a mirror, but with an AI face. And then when we talk about these AI celebrities or AI influencers, they're built to do the exact same thing. The reason why we want to buy from influencers is because we can connect with that person as a human being. I can trust that these jeans fit because you look like me, you sound like me, we went to the same school. I can trust you as an influencer. But when it becomes an AI influencer, your main point is to sell to me. I mean, it's the same, but there's no human connection. You're literally built and developed to appeal to the masses. So of course you're going to do well, I guess. So I'm quite against it because I think it is just another capitalist tool. I don't think it's meant with the best of intentions. I'm not for it at all.
Okay. There's some comments in the chat that I'm gonna get to now as well.
I'm reading it.
You're reading. So we'll start with Princess. AI is making love easier in so many ways. I have a colleague who confessed to using AI to draft his pickup or chat lines. He uses AI to draft romantic messages to his love interest every morning. This is just one of many uses of AI to promote love and romance. Okay, Grace, you got a fire back there.
Different though. That's different. I mean, while I don't agree, who hasn't used AI to write a happy birthday message to a colleague? Do you know what I mean? It doesn't mean I don't care about the colleague, but maybe I just don't have the time to think about that. But in the same breath, we're losing those little moments that we have in relationships. Yes, it's just a birthday card that I'm writing to my girlfriend or a morning text that I'm writing to my girlfriend or boyfriend, but I'm literally showing that by me doing this, I'm taking time out of my day, I'm making the effort, and I'm sending the text message. We're losing the two-sidedness of it. Yes, for the person who's receiving the message, oh, it feels like you love me, I'm happy I got the message. But the person creating the message is like, okay, but this was no effort. It wasn't as big of a deal. So I don't know. I'm not entirely against the whole text message thing. I mean, I don't think it's great. I'll probably be neutral towards it, but that's not the same as literally having an AI bot talking back to you, being in a relationship. That I feel like that is just completely that's weird.
Okay, so Ramla, we're gonna come to you here. And I'm curious. So I'm curious about your answer, but I'm also curious what you feel about what I'm going to say, because Grace puts in a very interesting point. But are we picking and choosing when AI is suitable for us at this point? Because we're not good with having a bot chat you up or like, meet to someone, but you are okay with it doing your work for you and getting over your boss who's expecting you to do something because they hired you because you have skills, but AI is doing the work for you. So are we really picking and choosing when we allow AI to really dive into our lives here? What do you think, Ramla?
Yes, absolutely. Again, because it's a tool, we pick and choose when we think it's useful to us versus not. So I think really interesting things in terms of what's been said in the chat, and the results. I think I've got a lot of opinions on this.
Okay.
So
We'll keep it concise though, because I'm looking at
yes,
time,
I will
but
try
yes.
and keep it concise. I'll try and keep it concise. So, on the topic of AI companions, like a lot of the people have said, it's mirroring you, right? So, it I think AI in the space of love and companionship is very predatory. I think it's really unethical because usually people will resort to this from a place of desperation or loneliness. We already know the loneliness epidemic. People feel really isolated, and it's a systemic issue. So this, rather than tackling this from a system point of view, it kind of tackles a symptom. Yes, in that moment, that instant gratification of having an AI tell you you look handsome, how's your day been, will feel great in that moment. But with that AI mirroring you, telling you everything you want to hear, it further isolates you because now you have this tool that tells you that you're fantastic. Whereas with the real human relationships, there's friction, there's things that make you realize, okay, maybe I need to grow in a certain area, maybe there isn't, maybe I'm lacking in something. It removes you from what it means to be human. And I think it will eventually make really socially awkward people who don't realize that they're not the best thing since sliced bread, right? That's one. And then secondly, on the use of AI within Tinder and stuff like that, like Grace said, the aim is to have people constantly using these apps. Their aim is not just satisfaction, but it's also to keep you on the app. So it makes sense that you don't end up in a really lovely relationship. I think it's only Hinge that has that advertisement line where it says the app that's created to be destroyed. I think it's a marketing line. The aim is to keep you on the app, and it reduces what it means to be human, to form relationship and love and everything to specific data points of personal interest, what you look like, where you live, etc. There's so much more to that in human connection, and so it is quite scary that then AI is being used to try and match you to someone. I read recently that by next month, the Match Group are starting to look at AI coaches within these apps to try and improve your bio, which pictures might get more likes or might get you more whatever. I saw on Twitter also someone's creating a tool where they put the response of the person that they're talking to, it will do some calculations and then it will give you the best potential response. And then you provide that. There's no critical thinking, there's no learning, there's no growing. You're doing things based on some mathematical or some algorithm that's deciding what should be the best and what might get you the best chance of a date. It removes again that human learning, that connection, the magic of actually being in a relationship to these specific data points, which I think is really scary. So yeah, I think human connection. AI for work is great because we don't live to work. A lot of the discussions we had so far is surrounded by work. We are not employees our entire lives. We live more than just work. So for work, I understand in automating, even in the mundane day to day, but there's so much more to life and living than the quickest response or the most optimized response or efficiency. And so, yeah, I think in that space, AI will never replace human connection. And where it does, it further isolates people.
Okay. I'm going to go through the rest of these conversations in the chat, but thank you so much. Your humanness brings everything to a nice rounded point. So Mars says, there's a wonderful video I watched from a psychiatrist called Dr. K. The gist was that algorithms do not tend to pull people together that are compatible for a relationship. They're created to get customers and match people based on interests, but interests are not a significant part of making relationship work long term. Mars was just interesting to me. Aisha, lol, Grace, but then seeking out the most optimized way could be seen as effort, possibly. They may have prompted AI with information about that person. That is true. Yeah, they still put effort to some extent. the only issue, I'm gonna say this, you lot. The only issue I'm gonna point out here is like these sets expectations. So then when you lot are alone, are you still gonna be able to bring those responses? I'm just gonna say that. Grace, you really want to say something, I can tell. Go ahead, say what you need to say.
Yeah, that was gonna be my point. Exactly. It's not you. And not only that, ChatGPT is or loads of these LLMs are trained on millions, billions of data points, but they're not you. It's not you, the person giving the response, and it's not the person who's, waiting for the response. So no matter how much data it's been trained on, it's still not this. It still doesn't take into account the intricate nuances of the risk of like the interaction. No.
Oh,
But again, slightly hypocritical because I do use it to write birthday messages at work. So
okay, I'm glad you said that about yourself. Okay, I'm glad. Okay, Princess says AI is a tool. We can use it to enhance our love and romance experiences. And Sebastian, okay, you two are going back and forth there. Exactly. I'll let that conversation flow. Another point from Princess, AI is making love easier in so many ways. I have a colleague. Okay, so Sebastian's just replying to that point. I agree that AI will never replace human connection, but I strongly believe that AI as a tool can be utilized maximizing love experience. Fair enough. And we're looking at the audience segmentation on the chart here. We're seeing that 50% are strongly agreeing that it can't replace human connection. There are some in other places as well. But I do think there's probably this level of nuance, right? To what level, to what extent. And so, yes, I'm loving this conversation. So
Can I add one more thing? Just
go
one
ahead.
one last word. I understand kind of using AI for making the relationship richer. For example, recommending date nights. Where could we go? Maybe what flowers I could get. But when it comes to what you value as a person, I value someone writing a message that they really care about rather than the most optimized thing that they could have said to me. Because at the end of the day, that isn't you. That's not who you are. It's a tool that you use to quickly say something to me. And therefore, I value effort. Different people value different things. It really depends. But it's rethinking your value system, what you think makes that connection between you and a person. And also using AI where it makes sense. Recommendation for date night, I think, is appropriate.
Okay. Then question from the audience. Speaking of the use, hello. Do you think the use of AI in your company is appropriate / safe in your workplace uses? Does anyone feel they want to answer that one? We'll just get one response here from one of you. Go ahead, Sebastian. I can tell you. You want to say it? Go ahead.
Well, I mean, so that's why you need to have it's speaking of the use, you think the use of AI in your company is appropriate, save in your workplace. So you have to have a team or you have to have a governance surrounding the use of any AI tool in your environment. Because some of these AI tools, you will start seeing lawsuits going about in Europe very soon because in February, the EU Act came into full force. So we are going to see more of this. But yes, it's appropriate, but if you have a team of experts that can validate that. And that's why I advise I'm not making a team of experts that evaluates any AI tool that you want to use in your environment.
Okay, I hope that answers the question that person put in. Awesome. So we've come to the end of the night. Thank you everyone for joining. A final word from the panelists. So a lot of the AI conversation has just been around ease, optimization, making things faster, more efficient, scaling impact, and all sorts of that. The final question, if you could answer this in a sentence, is this. Is the ease and optimized life the best life for us to live? And everyone can, if you can answer in that like a sentence, that would be great. And we can start with Grace. Let's start with you.
No, human beings thrive on challenges and overcoming challenges. So no.
Okay. Ramla, that's no. Ramla, what do you think?
The question being, is an easy, optimized life the best life?
Yeah.
I agree with the sentiment Grace said. Not necessarily. I think going through the motions of life and growing is more important. And I advocate for a slower life rather than optimized. So going slower. Kind
I
of
find it interesting because both of you are AI users and you actually build some AI stuff as well. So this conversation is interesting.
my life.
Sebastian, final word.
Okay, so interesting.
Sentence.
Well, humans thrive well when they meet challenges, but again, when you solve the challenge, please optimize it.
I love that that was an answer and not an answer at the same time. But I get you. So if you're gonna do something, you might as well optimize it, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. I love that. Well, on that bombshell, we had different opinions here, and that's what these roundtables are for. Different opinions discussing important topics within our community, displaying ourselves as professionals, not just, doing things in the world, but also just as great people within our separate industries and careers. So I hope you all enjoy that conversation. If you're interested in being part of more conversations like this, then stay tuned to BYP and get involved. Our first topic of our roundtable is around mentorship and is it actually necessary for career progression? This one was around AI and is it important for us to live, learn, and love? The next question is going to be around politics. So that's going to be an interesting conversation. We're going to bring into the conversation a lot of the things that have been happening lately in the world and seeing how it affects our different industries. So we're going to have different professionals speak about that. But so if you're interested in that, please stay tuned. Thank you everyone for your time. Thank you, panelists. If people want to find you and learn more about the work, how do they do that? Sebastian, how do they find you? Is LinkedIn?
LinkedIn.
Yeah.
First up. Yeah.
Perfect. Ramla, how do they find you?
Yeah, if you search Ramla Anshur on LinkedIn and also Instagram, I share my day-to-day design features work there as well.
And Grace?
Same for me. You can find me on LinkedIn as well.
Awesome. And we'll also have their links as well as part of the BYP post. So thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful evening. If you haven't eaten dinner, please go forward and do that. If you're eating while we were talking, well, don't worry. It's okay. Hope you enjoyed your dinner. Thank you so much. Have a great evening. Take care.
Yes.